Hello, YouTubers. I want to welcome you to another edition of new album releases. And haven't done these in a while, and I'm starting to get backed up. So I want to get to this video to stay in time. Okay, now, for those who aren't aware, basically, when I record an album, it's all done live. There's no overdub. It's just 2 tracks, left and right, basically. And sometimes I also use a bass amp and mix that into one of the channels. Okay, and it's all done with guitar and guitar loops done on the fly. I also emulate bass on guitar and things. And it's all improvised on the spot. Okay. In other words, I'll play something, it'll start to play back, and I come up with guitar ideas that might work with it and those kinds of things. Always surprised with the results and things. So if you're wondering why so many albums, each one is different, of course, and always surprised at the results. Okay, now this one is Modern Guitar Volume 362. Okay, and it's called Stringularity. Right? And we can take a look at the cover of the album here. There's the guitar, of course, and has some lighting and those kinds of things. Alright. Now, Volume 362 actually comprises of 7 tracks. Okay? But it's a full-length album. So the tracks are kind of long. I think average track length is about 17 minutes, or 7 minutes, I'm sorry. Something like that. So what I'd like to do is go through the 7 tracks and try to add some input, as to what I was thinking or what was going on and things. And I can tell you that for track 1, at this time, I was very much into the pure guitar sound. Okay? So that affected the tracks immensely. Alright, now keep in mind we're only listening to the tracks via the microphone input of the camera, and I'll try to keep the PC down, the PC noise down. So let's begin here with track 1. Okay. And to be quite honest, I don't remember what I called it. If you find the album, on Amazon Music or Spotify and things, it has the name of the tracks. But for our purposes, we'll just call it track 1. So this opens the album. Let's take a listen to it. So there we got two layers of guitar, one playing the main theme of the song, if you like, of the track, and the second one playing a melody above it. And notice below that I have the bass emulation, and that's been a real struggle, ending up using crossovers and going directly to a bass amp and then mixing that in with the guitar signals. Because remember, it's all live, so. And at least it works for my purposes. Alright, let's continue listening. Okay, and let's fast forward it a bit. Okay, so that's the introductory track. As you can see, it really focuses on the clean guitar sounds. Okay, let's move on to track 2. Okay, and now here I'm using a lot of delayed guitar, and this particular sound, the delayed guitar sound, is one of my favorites, and I use it quite often. You'll hear it in probably many tracks. I just love the sound of it. And here again you've got the bass, right, which is a big deal because in a lot of the prior albums I had, right, well, a lot of times I was emulating bass, using octave pedals, and it went through a guitar amp. Well, that just doesn't cut it. I mean, the bass sounds, super weak and thin because those guitar speakers just can't handle it. They're not meant for those frequencies. So luckily with a crossover I'm able to one direct, it breaks the signal up into a low signal and a guitar signal basically. So I can send the guitar part to a guitar amp, the bass part to a bass amp. And you can hear that here. So these are just layers. Okay, and here I'm using several different delays, and they're all in sync and with subdivisions of the time, you know. And they all sync to a master tempo. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. Okay, and here are lots of different guitar layers. And here, sometimes I add like different kinds of reverbs and those kinds of things. And it gives it a lot of depth, you know. The guitar sounds far away or right up front. Okay, we'll fast forward one more time. I like this track. Right there's a great example of that. There's this almost ambient sounding guitar, right? It has lots of effects on it and give it that sense of depth. Alright, let's move on to track 3. Okay, now I don't know what was going on here with track 3. But remember, I told you I really like that delay things. And here, sometimes I'll add some reverb to the delay. But here, that's not the case at all, in fact. And it gives it a very different sound. It's just delay, no reverb at all. Alright, let's take a listen. Okay, now on this track, the delays, there are many layers of it, and I just figured out. Remember I was telling you there's no reverb on the delays. Well, I think that the reason is, at the time that I was recording this album, I was using my short pedal board, right? A small pedal board, compared to my large pedal board that has reverb available after the delays, whereas the small one at the time did not. Now later, I got a pedal that could handle reverb after the delay, but at this time it wasn't available, so that's probably why. But let's take a listen to it. Well, I'll fast forward it a bit. gives that track a different sound, you know, because you don't want too much reverb on every track, you know, washing everything out. So this was kind of a, when you listen to the album, it's kind of a drastic change. Alright, let's move on to track 4. Okay, now, I always consider when I create this music, right, I always try to create moods and atmospheres much like you'd find in film music, you know, and I think this track kind of illustrates that really well. I like the mood and atmosphere it creates, you know. Let's take a listen. Very much like that last chord, you know, on each pass here. Let's fast forward a little bit. Boss SY200. That's the Boss SY200, I'm sure of that. If it's on the small board, that's what's on there. It's a guitar synthesizer pedal, and the nice thing is you don't have to use a MIDI pickup on the guitar, so you just turn it on and you immediately get a synthesizer sound. Let's hear that. I used it kind of as a little melody over what had already been looped. And for me anyway, this is kind of what I would imagine hearing in a film, you know, whatever scene it is, you know. Alright, now let's move on to track 5. Let's take a listen to that. That delay, there's a really long delay that repeats quite often if you listen to it. Of course, we have the bass emulation and I'm looping what I'm playing at the moment there, and then adding ideas to that. Let's take a listen. Fast forward that a little bit. But here I'm basically using all kinds of synth type sounds, and different guitar sounds, and the bass is, is pretty rudimentary, really. I mean, especially on this track, it's pretty much root notes, and keep in mind the bass octave pedal I was using, is monophonic, so I mean you can't play two strings at once, for example. It's only one string at once, so but it works okay. Alright, let's take a listen. So there I've got a lot of different loops going, but what I'm very pleased about is that I can hear all the different parts, they're not all smashed up together. I mean, you can hear the different parts and wrong notes here and there. Yeah, okay. Let's move on to track 6. Okay, and here again it's just, rather than playing tons of effects here, I just want to concentrate on the guitar, the clean guitar part. So this is kind of a reflection of that. Let's keep listening. So there's kind of that just clean guitar, a lot of times I had played some classical guitar in the past, and they always had these themes, if you like, and it was just solo guitar. So this is kind of inspired by that, I guess. So I'm using a lot of double stops and those kinds of things, and intervals and things. Okay, let's fast forward that a bit. So there I've added some guitar parts. It's actually kind of a long track. It's like 10 minutes long. Fast forward a little more. So adding more and more guitar ideas. Okay, so adding a bunch of tracks, guitar parts. Alright, and now the last track is track 7. Here we go. Okay, so here obviously is using that synthesizer guitar pedal. I think it's the SY200, as I mentioned. And that's it. So track 7 is a really, really short track. Just an interesting sound for some reason. I liked it. So I added that to the end of the album. So that's it for Vol.362, Stringularity. Now keep in mind, we've skipped through the tracks pretty quickly, and they're actually quite longer tracks. So when you listen to it as an album, it flows a lot better. My overall thoughts on this album is I really like it, and one of the reasons I like it is it's quite straightforward and quite honest. And what I mean by honest, there's no guitar showboating, shredding, look what I can do, this kind of thing. It's all just, playing for the track itself, or the music, I guess. And so I like that very much. And definitely ideas that I liked, Granted, some ideas work better than others, especially when you're looping and things. But yeah, I very much like this album. and I find it very artistic, as far as albums go, because I like the moods and atmospheres that a lot of the tracks create, and sometimes that doesn't mean, a ton of notes or shredding kind of stuff, So I very much like it. And to me, this is very much an album that is, that guitar is an art, not a sport. So there you go, there's volume 362. Yeah, it's a solid album. I like it very much. Of course, there's other albums to come, and we'll see, what discoveries are made there. Alright, very good. See you next time. Okay. Bye.